My name's Sonia McDonald and I'm the unlikely entrepreneur. I love to share stories, and this is actually a difficult, very difficult story for me to share, but an important story for me to share. A number of years ago, I was living in Shanghai, China, and we lived in this warm and inviting apartment. But on this particular day, it was cold and it was foreign to me. And I was curled up in the corner of this apartment, and I don't know for how long I'd been crying for, but my whole world just fell apart. And the most devastating thing happened to me, and I had become a full-time single parent in the middle of China. And it wasn't until my beautiful 3-year-old daughter came up to me and she said, Mummy, please get up. And I looked up at her and I knew I had a choice. I had a choice to choose to let this event define me, or I had a choice to do something about it. Now, this story does end well because I did choose the latter, so I decided to do something about it. So I packed up our bags, and that was one of the toughest days of my life, leaving my life there, and we moved back to Australia. And I moved back to Australia with $2,000 in the bank and a pretty crappy Holden Commodore. Now, Holdens are good, and this is not actually a picture of my car, but it was a pretty crappy car, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? And the survival mode kicked in, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to reinvent myself, and I'm going to open myself up to opportunities. So I met this man, looked on job boards, found this job for a leadership consultant. I thought, oh, maybe I could try that. And I caught the train up to Brisbane, and I met this man who had a leadership consulting company. And he sat there and he said, Sonia, I'm looking for someone to work in engineering construction companies, work on major projects around Queensland, and to teach and educate in leadership. Are you interested? Yeah, okay, I'll give that a go. Do you know much about leadership? Absolutely. I know so much about leadership. And I sat there and looked at him and said, please don't ask me any questions because I really don't know that much. And thank goodness he didn't. And I jumped back on the train and I raced home and I bought every single book I could on leadership. Every single book I could. I faked it. And when I'm up for a challenge, I can do this. And I researched and I read and I started working for a number of years with this company in the leadership space, and I fell completely in love with it. I was so passionate about the work I was doing. I was obsessed with leadership. I was working with these clients and these projects and these teams and these leaders, and I was transforming thinking. I was building leadership capability. I could see the difference I was making, and I knew then and there that I was in the right spot. And then I started thinking about when I was little, and I used to love writing. I used to write beautiful stories when I was little, and it's funny how we grow up and we lose track of those things that we love to do when we're little. And I kind of tapped into that passion from when I was a little girl, and I started writing about leadership. So I started a blog called LeadershipHQ. I had a number of followers, which I thought was really cool. And then a number of people came up to me and said, Sonia, why don't you start a business? Why don't you turn this into something more meaningful? And I used to look at them and think, are you kidding? What happens if I fail? What happens if I'm not good enough? But it sparked an idea in my head. And I spent a year as the flip chart queen. I had flip chart all over my bedroom. I had a flip chart all over my office. I had a flip chart for marketing. I had a flip chart for ideas. I had a flip chart for strategy. I had a flip chart for my values. And all the ideas just kept coming out of me around how I could actually transform and evolve this blog into an actual company. And I jumped. After a year, I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. What have I got to lose? And I jumped, and I'm flying. And there's been times where it's been turbulent. I've had some turbulent times on that flight, and I've lost some altitude. but I keep sight of where I'm going. And I turned it into a company called LeadershipHQ. I am the unlikely entrepreneur because I never, ever thought I would be standing where I am today. Not for one moment, but now that I look back, this is exactly where I need to be. And why? Because of my purpose. My purpose is fundamentally to build leadership, capability, and confidence, and I get to do that every single day. And what did I focus on? I focused on what was unique about me and what was unique about my business and how I could make a difference to my clients and leaders' challenges and help them find solutions and make a difference with them in terms of, because leadership makes a difference. I also became a semi-expert in leadership and development. I don't call myself an expert, I call myself a semi-expert because I never, ever want to stop learning and I never, ever want to stop growing. And I became very aware of what my values are and what I needed to do to live and breathe those values and that purpose. And part of that was opening up my mind to possibilities. I said yes to opportunities. I took risks. And I'm telling you now, I made some fundamental stuff-ups with some of those risks. But I learnt my greatest lessons from those risks and mistakes as well. I opened myself up to feedback, even though sometimes it was really hard to hear, because I wanted to be the best I could be. And fundamentally, the thing that made the biggest difference to me was that I learnt neuroscience. Neuroscience has made such a difference to me in my business around this is our greatest tool. This is absolutely our greatest tool. And not only did I see the research and the study and now the speaking and writing I do in this space, it makes such a difference not only with my clients, but also with my leaders, my teams, but also for myself. Because at the end of the day, there's one thing I want you to take away with you tonight is that you are the director of your brain. Your mind is like a stage. And if you've got bad actors on that stage, you're going to have a pretty crappy show playing and no one's going to want to buy tickets to that show. You want to have Oscar award-winning actors on that stage, empowering actors on that stage, and you are the director of that stage. So it's about making sure that you have empowering thoughts and empowering actors, but also empowering people. I call them my cheerleaders. I have people around me who truly believe in me, support me, encourage me and empower me. And they have been fundamental in my success. However, I'm also a cheerleader for others. And I think that is so fundamental. If we had more people in this world that supported each other and empowered and encouraged each other and wanted the best and wanted them to be successful, I think that we would be living in a much different world than we are now. Do not have people in your rowboat that are putting holes in your rowboat. Get those people off your rowboat. Have people in your rowboat that want to row that boat with you. Absolutely. Also, part of my cheerleading squad is throughout my journey is I've had coaches, I've had mentors, and I've had sponsors. And I now have a couple of fantastic mentors that provide so much guidance and so much support. And I attribute a lot of my success to them as well. Go out there and find yourself a mentor and a coach. And also surround yourself with people that have strengths and talents that are different to yours as well. I am so blessed and grateful I've got a team of people that have capabilities and talents and strengths in areas that I don't. And I go, brilliant, I am blessed. I focus on my strengths and I focus on my passions, and I'm really, really passionate about strengths-based leadership as well. And part of that is that I focus on driving my own journey, and I also focus on directing my own path. I believe that I am confident. I'm not Miss Confident 24/7. I've had some knocks, absolutely. There's been some days that I've gone, wow, but then I revert always back to my why and my purpose. And confidence can be learnt. And how you actually breed confidence is through action, and also action and confidence breeds courage, and I'm very courageous. But sometimes I look at that and I think that I have to be Superwoman, and you know what? I don't. I don't have to be Superwoman, because I am human and I am vulnerable, and as long as I stay true to my purpose and I'm also compassionate to myself and I'm compassionate to others, I know that I'm being the best I can be. So it's about empowering thoughts, empowering people, and empowering yourself. Because I have such grand plans and such grand vision for LeadershipHQ and also for myself. Whether it's me innovating an amazing women in leadership program. This year it was a LeadershipHQ magazine that I'm so proud of. Next year it's going to be a book. I keep looking forward. I keep looking forward and I keep moving forward. And if there is something inside of you, if you've got a fire inside of you, if you've got a passion inside of your heart, if you've got amazing ideas and thoughts of greatness coming out of that amazing mind of yours, I applaud you. I challenge you, I empower you to go and do it. Find it. Jump off that cliff. I'm the unlikely entrepreneur that's most likely to succeed because I believe in myself. I believe in my vision, I believe and I live and I breathe my purpose. At the end of the day, I am making a difference. And ultimately, I do this because that 3-year-old is now a beautiful 13-year-old, and I want her to see that anything is possible. If I can do it, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. Thank you.